Something strange happened in the 2006 World Cup. Germany was the host and the Germans were confident. Their team was packed with some of the world's best players, and by the quarterfinals, Germany had won all their games, scoring 10 goals and conceding only 2. But then they came up against Argentina. The quarterfinal was neck and neck, 1-1 after 120 minutes, and the game went to penalties.
It was a knockout situation, so one of the two had to go home.
That's Gerd, a world-leading behavioral scientist and the director of the Max Planck Institute for Human Development.
So my name is Gerd Gigerenzer. I'm studying how people make decisions, in particular under uncertainty.
A penalty shootout is full of uncertainty.
It's penalties to decide who wins this quarter-final in Berlin.
There's always one player and one goalie, and the player puts the ball on the right position. This is 11 meters from the goalie, and so then we'll see what happens.
Nobel.
But in this penalty shootout, something strange happened. Something the Argentinians didn't expect.
This knockout was unusual because the German goalie, Jens Lehmann, had a sheet of paper in his hand, and which he took out every time an Argentinian player was preparing himself.
The Argentinian players watched Jens Lehmann study this piece of paper before each penalty, and Gerd reckons that this disrupted their rhythm.
Put yourself in the shoes of an Argentinian player, and you see that the goalie has a sheet of paper in his hand. And then you start thinking, what's on it? And you probably rightly guess, statistics, where I usually shoot, maybe down left or right up. And then you ask yourself, what do I do now? And that's the point.
The sheet did contain statistical information on 7 of the Argentinian players. So, did this piece of data help Jens Lehmann make more saves?
And Lehmann stopped 2 of the shoots, and Germany went on in the tournament, and Argentina went home.
Argentina in the World Cup! He saved it! Germany are through!
But here's the question. Did Germany win because the data told Lehmann where to dive, or because the data caused the Argentinians to overthink?
I know a few referees, professional referees, who thought, it's the information that helped the Germans. But the experiments in psychology, and I can tell you one in a minute, show it's not the information. It is the disturbance of a highly trained, intuitive player by getting him to think. And we have the evidence because the last Argentinian player who shot, where you can still see on YouTube Jens Lehmann studying very carefully the information, we have this sheet of paper. There's no information on it about that person. So it can't be the information.
When Cambiasso prepared for his penalty, Jens Lehmann studied that piece of paper. It looked like Lehmann was studying statistics on Cambiasso's past penalties, but Cambiasso's stats weren't on the sheet. Lehmann still pretended to read the note carefully. Cambiasso took his kick, and Lehmann saved it. It was not the information on the piece of paper that helped Lehmann, but more likely the fact that he made Cambiasso overthink.
So experts are often well advised to make fast decisions and do not think about the decision. They are just well trained. And one can disturb expertise by getting the person to reflect on what he or she is doing.
And Gerd has a study which proves this.
There are a number of psychological experiments done, for instance, with golf players, where you have 2 groups, experienced golf players and amateurs. If you ask both groups, pay attention to your movements when doing a putt, what happens? Are the beginners getting better? Yes. Are the experienced players getting better? No. It disturbs their intuitive play.
This 2002 study found that the accuracy for expert golfers dropped by 10% when they had more time.
Another experiment gave them only 3 or so seconds to do their putt. What happens? If the beginners have only 3 seconds, are they getting better or worse? They're getting worse. If the experts only have 3 seconds, they're getting better. If they have too much time, on average, they get worse.
The researchers conclude their paper with a compelling quote. For real-time execution by experts, there may be truth in the Nike motto, just do it. But why do golfers and football players make worse decisions when they overthink? Gerd thinks he knows why.
We have been studying handball players, professional ones. And here the term intuition comes in. So intuition is a feeling based on years of experience, which is quickly in your mind, but you can't explain it. Experienced handball players, they decide whether to do a loop or pass on a ball very quickly and intuitively. How can they do this? The basis of this is a heuristic that is called the fluency heuristic. Go with the first option that comes to your mind.
Now, I should mention that this heuristic only works for highly talented experts in their subject matter. It doesn't work for beginners.
And in the experiment, the handball players were standing in front of a video with a top game, and they were instructed. You will see this video now for 10 seconds, then it will freeze, and then tell us what's the best option the player with the ball should do.
The researchers showed 85 players one highlight from a handball match, and they recorded exactly which actions the players recommended.
They watched the video, then it was frozen, and they said, or maybe pass to the left. And then they had another 45 seconds to study this frozen video more carefully and find whether there are other options. And for instance, one of them said, I didn't see the guy on the right side. That would be a good idea. Pass to him. Then they were asked again, what do you now think is the best option? And in many cases, they changed their mind. What we found is the first option that came to mind was on average the best one. The second option, the second best, the third one, the third best. That means if they had longer time and began to think, they often ended up with a second or third best option.
The researchers Johnson and Raab found that the third option the handball players came up with was typically 2 times worse than the first option they intuitively suggested. Gut instinct trumped lengthy analysis. Lehmann's piece of paper caused the Argentinians to overthink. It made them slow down, which has proven to worsen their performance. And it made them rethink their gut instinct, which has proven to worsen their decisions. But that begs the question, why doesn't every goalkeeper do this? If Lehmann's piece of paper did make the Argentinians overthink, then the study suggests that it should work again and again. Every goalkeeper could use this same technique to save more penalties. Except they can't. Lehmann's sheet of paper was effective because it was unique. It's uncommon to see a goalkeeper studying a piece of paper right before a penalty kick. This novelty caused the Argentinians to overthink. If every goalkeeper did this, the novelty would wear off. Players wouldn't be surprised, so they wouldn't overthink. So, the best penalty-saving technique isn't to study a piece of paper before every kick. It's to come up with something so novel, so new, that it forces the opposition to overthink.